Working both sleeves at the same time, because we're using the third size for this pattern, we are required to cast on 32 stitches. So please refer to the video LKC 1 for casting on. We then are needed to do 10 rows of rib, so please refer to LKC 2 and 3 for the rib. And there is no increase once you've done the last row. On the last row there's no increase on this because we're going to increase as we go up the sleeve. Once the 10 rows are finished, we then, when we start the stocking stitch, please make sure you change to your larger size needles. You need the larger size. And then we're required to increase 1 stitch at each end of the first row and then every following 4th row until we reach 52 stitches. We've got to increase 20 stitches at each end of every 4th row. Increase by 20 stitches by increasing 1 stitch at each end of every 4th row after we've increased on the first row. And you can see my increases here. You see one there and one there, one here and one here. The pattern says to increase at the end of each row, but again, because I like it to be a little bit neater, I don't increase on the end. I don't think that's neat enough. I always increase a couple of stitches in, just like I do with my decrease. I do it a couple of stitches in, but I'll just explain why I do it after the 2nd stitch and after the 3rd stitch at the other end. So let me show you, this is the 3rd set of increases. Let's begin. Show you that again. Knit 1 stitch. The second one we're going to increase. Hook around the yarn in the normal way through the front of the stitch. Now we're going to go into the back of the stitch and increase. There you go, you've increased 1. Knit until we just have 3 stitches remaining at the end. Don't forget to set your tension. Use both hands to help you with your needles. Keep your right hand needle in the crook of your thumb, or your left hand if you're left-handed. So the increase at the other end is done in exactly the same way as at the beginning of the row, but we're going to do it 3 stitches in. So there's the 3 stitches. So once again, put the needle through the front of the stitch, yarn around the needle, bring the needle through. Take the needle behind and through the back of the stitch, yarn around the needle, bring the needle through. You've there created 2 stitches. You've created your increase. Knit 2 stitches. And so you've increased 1 at that end. And you can see, because of the increase, it looks like a purl. Just looks like a purl stitch. But even so, it does give some neatness to the work as you travel on up the length of the sleeve. So one more time. Again through the knit 1 stitch. Then we're going to do an increase through the front of the stitch. Take the needle behind, put it through the back of the stitch, yarn around the needle, bring it through. There's your increase. Again, work to the end, to the last 3, and we'll do the increase in exactly the same way. some yarn off the wall. Slow down a little bit to show you. We're coming towards the end. Here we go. So we're at the last three. So once again, needle into the front of the stitch, yarn around the needle, bring it through, take the needle then to the back of the stitch, put the needle through, yarn around the needle, bring it back, there's your increase, knit 2. And like I say, it's very much in keeping with the other increases here. You've got that little, it looks like a little pearl in your work. So carry on. So we've now got to do 3 rows, a purl, a plain and a purl before we do the next increase. So carry on doing that until you have 52 stitches. Just repeat this until you have your 52 stitches increased over each end of every 4th row.